I recently came to the conclusion that these master classes, okay, here, let me tell you like a fact about me, which you probably have already noticed, but I'll like just lay it out there. I am an oversharer, and as such, I give too much. So what I realize I've been trying to facilitate in these master classes is I've been trying to give you all like an education that at the very minimum takes 2 years to complete within the space of like 90 minutes. Because that's just a part of my burden in this lifetime that I have to learn how to like pull back. So anyway, that being said, I realized that if it were truly a masterclass, it would be far less of the back and forth that I always try to do each week in terms of breaking down each and every granular step of what I do so that you could understand each and every granular concept that I'm trying to share. And I think it probably makes more sense for me to just read the charts, you see? With probably a little direction, but just focus more on just reading the charts, because I think that that's what people come to this sort of thing for. It's a very performative space. Like you come to see a performance and you also come to see me fail. I mean, like in the back of your mind, there's kind of that as well. Like, okay, here's this person who I know is technically supposed to be good, but let me see if he's going to slip up this week. It's like going to the carnival or the circus. Like there's one part of you that goes because you know that the act is going to be amazing, but then there's the other part of you that goes because you're wondering whether or not the person on the tightrope is actually going to fall. It's human and it's completely okay, and I appreciate you for it. But that being said, I'm going to focus more on the chart interpretations this week, as opposed to the actual technique, and several of my students are here. Anyway, Catherine, you don't have to agree with it, it's my perception. Anyway, several of my students are here, and so I just know that, or I trust that they'll be able to chime in the chat if you have questions, because they all know what I teach basically. So those people are Shane and Sam and Mallory and Emma and KPF and Catherine, all of you basically. And we have a couple other people signed up for today who aren't students at Oraculos, but I'm not sure where they are, like Ginny and Daryl and Della and those people. Anyway, moving forward, so that's the first thing I wanted to say. Second thing I want to ask is, Sam, would you mind doing the honors of today? Okay, so Sam is going to do the honors of today, and really we have Island Lewis here. Okay, great. So now we have more of a variety. Emma, how are you? Emma, oh wow, hello Emma and Pickle. That's Emma's bird, Pickle. The bird's name is Pickle. Anyway, so Island is here. Island, am I pronouncing your name correctly, or?
Hi, it's Eileen.
Eileen, go up. I said no. I'm saying Eileen, and I'm telling myself that I have to go up on the. It's Eileen. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Nice to meet you, Eileen. I was saying like go up on the I instead of down on the I, so make it Eileen and not Island. Anyway, I'm a person. Nice to meet you. I'm very happy that you're here. And cool. So now we have more variety. So now we have a chart from Eileen, a chart from Fevin, and a chart from Kulan. And you can submit those to Sam. And as usual, my own people, they don't get anything. Sorry, Oraculites. So don't send me your charts to the public chat. That's the, okay, so ground rules. Do not send your boyfriends, girlfriends, spouses, whatevers, because that happened. I'm pretty sure that happened in the very first masterclass. And that's just not cool, you know, for me to say some things and it's about your spouse. Don't send kids charts either. I have an ethical qualm against reading the charts of children. And every time people send a child's chart, they're like, oh, I'm going to send the chart of a 15-year-old. We never actually say that we're not going to send the chart of a 35-year-old, you know what I mean? So if we're not saying it when we send the chart of a 35-year-old, that means that there's something within you that ethically knows that you probably shouldn't be sending the chart of a 15-year-old. If when you send it, you're going to be like, oh, I'm this person is 15 years old. Like, no, don't do that. If you have questions about that, speak now or forever hold your peace. No?
I appreciated you said that the other time because I was totally about to send my partner's chart in and I was like, oh yeah, that would be a really, really bad idea. So thank you for making that a rule.
Good, you're very welcome. I mean, but do you understand why though?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was, yeah, it was really, it's like,
Yeah.
dang, I almost messed that up.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, just so that you understand why. Anyway, Eileen, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I don't have a chart prepared to share. Is that okay? Or I can look for one if we need.
Yeah. Go look for one. Sam is waiting to collect a chart from you, a chart from Kulan, and a chart from Fevin, basically. So no, you don't have to like share it. I'm gonna read the chart. You see, it's not you reading the chart. It's okay. So other thing about the master classes is really just me talking for like the whole time, unless you have questions. So yeah, I'm gonna read the chart. Don't worry. Whoever's chart you want to send in. As long as it's not your own, as long as it's not your spouse's, and as long as it's not a child. I think those are the parameters for me. Okay. Any questions in the meantime, in between time? Eileen, you have one?
Do I have to know the person?
Yes. Oh, beautiful question. Yes, you do have to know the person. So let's talk about that because something happened. Was it the last masterclass, Kulan? It must have been. Something happened the last masterclass where I went through this. KPF, you were going to say something?
No, sorry, I don't know why I'm unmuted. Thanks for asking me.
Okay, it's fine. Emma's unmuted as well. Emma, you want to say something?
No, I just forgot to turn it off.
Okay, fine. Anyway, so something happened a couple classes back. I think it was the Thanksgiving one, the Friendsgiving one, where someone submitted a chart of their friend. She said, and I went through this very elaborate reading of it. I think that's the masterclass I would have sent you, Eileen. And afterwards, she was very on the fence about giving us information. Like it was a very awkward interaction afterwards. Let me say this up front. Susan is joining. Oh, and good afternoon, Eileen. If I didn't say good afternoon, I'm a good afternoon person. Anyway, so let me say this up front if it hasn't been made clear already. When you come to a masterclass like this, it isn't about the counseling of astrology. And Shane, this goes to a point you made, when was it, 2 days ago? I think so, yes? So a blind chart reading is not about astrological counseling. That is very, very, very important for you to know. Who I am as a counselor is a very different beast entirely from who I am as an astrologer demonstrating facility in a skill. You see? Susan, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, mute yourself, please. Thank you. So who I am as a person demonstrating a skill is very different from who I am as an astrologer. So we come to these blind chart readings because we want to put cold facts against the other cold details of a person's life. The cold but complex but very concrete and real and cold details of a person's life. It's not about making anyone feel good, you see? Because to blind read a chart is different from holding counseling space for someone, because counseling space is healing space. Cold reading a chart is not healing space. Do you understand the difference between these two things, everyone? Okay. Now, yes, Kulan, go for it.
This is probably a pretty sad question, but if we don't know anybody well enough, or at least nobody that we have a timed birth chart well enough,
Submit your own chart, Kula, and I feel as if that's what you want.
What I want to do.
Obviously,
I don't. You can say whatever you want about me, or not if you choose someone else's too. That's fine.
okay, cool. Obviously, I'm gonna now know that it's your chart, but whatever. Yes. So submit your chart. Anyway, moving on. But do we get that these are two separate skills? In the beginning of your astrological career, in the beginning of you learning how to astrologize, your primary focus should be on, I'm not even sure I want to get this in the recording, but it doesn't matter, I'm a rather blunt person. Your primary focus should be on getting it right as often as possible, because that shows a particular skill and a particular level of prowess within you. Every beginner astrologer should focus on, am I applying these concepts correctly in such a manner whereas I'm getting it right consistently? That is what you should focus on as a beginner. It shouldn't be in the beginning, do I also have counseling skills on top of that? Which is why it's important for you to grow the skills of getting things right within a mentorship environment like this, where you're not saying something to someone that's too blunt or too harsh or too painful. Do you understand? So within the safety net that is a mentorship environment, you allow yourself to focus on exerting and exercising this very cold skill of finding very cold facts from a person's chart. Does that make sense? And then as you flourish within the development of that skill, then you move out into the world of actually working with other people. And then there should be parameters built around how you work with other people that should be a part of your ongoing mentorship situation. But in the beginning, we focus on getting things consistently right because we want to make sure that we have mastery of these foundational skills. As we advance beyond just getting things right, our next question to ourselves should be, now how can I encroach this ability to get things right in a warm cloud, in a healing net, in healing language, in counseling language? How can I build my ability to get things right within a larger paradigm of being helpful and being supportive to this person, even while holding true to the accuracy of what it is I want to tell them? You see? But that for me is the evolutionary arc of learning astrology. You learn the rigorous, you're a ninja in the beginning. Do you know that there's this thing, I heard this one time from someone, I'm not sure how true it is, but forgive me, I liked it, that ninjas, like monks or whatever, when they're in the monastery, like they're all like skinny and they look emaciated and they look like they're starving and they all have a six-pack. Every like baby ninja has a six-pack. And then when they grow into the teacher, they have this beautiful round belly. Have you ever realized that? Like, have you ever seen a Buddha with a six-pack? No, you've never seen a Buddha with a six-pack, but you always see the monks with the six-pack. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is you exert all of that hard effort in the beginning. You really try to be an athlete with your skills in the beginning. You pick up the mantle of your practice in the same way as an athlete picks up the mantle of their ongoing regimental training. That is who you are in the beginning of anything. But as you grow with those skills and as you grow beyond proficiency and beyond competency in a thing, it softens. Okay, I'll tell you one more thing. Oh my God, can I tell you one more thing? Thank you. So there are 4 stages of competency. The first stage of competency is incompetency. You're bad and you don't know how bad you are. Oh, no, actually it's unconscious incompetency. That's what it is. Unconscious incompetency. You're bad, you suck, and you don't realize how badly you suck. It's like everyone, their first year of dance school, they think that they're a brilliant dancer, and then when you get inside school, when you get in dance school, you realize, I don't know shit. Like, I don't know anything about anything. So that's the first stage. You are unconsciously incompetent. You suck and you don't realize how bad you suck. Then you enroll in a program and you realize, oh my God, I really suck. I really don't know anything at all. And then you move into the realm of conscious incompetency. Do you see the difference? You went from being unconsciously incompetent to now being consciously incompetent. It's like, oh my God, I really suck. And this is awful. And I'm having an existential crisis because I'm really, really bad. And then that existential crisis should goad you onward to becoming consciously competent. I suck. I realize I suck. Now I'm going to pick up the mantle of my practice like an athlete, and I am going to take these practiced powers and use them and stretch them out until I build a new temple of reality within my mind that honors this skill that I'm accumulating. I build muscles around this skill. So I become consciously competent. And a lot of people within their development, they stop at the level of being consciously competent. But conscious competency isn't mastery in the truest sense. Conscious competency is I'm good, I know I'm good, but I'm good because I still feel myself exerting effort in the direction of being good. But eventually, after you do that over and over and over and over and over and over again, you move into the realm of unconscious competency. You could do it in your sleep. Someone could wake you up in the middle of the night and say, Shane Powers, what are the triplicity rulers of the fourth house? What do they represent? And Shane Powers will say,
the father, land and property, and the end of the matter.
precisely. That is unconscious competency. Someone can go to Emma Bulgarian and say, Emma Bulgarian, what are the triplicity rulers of the eighth house? What do they represent?
Death, ancient things, and other people's money.
Death, ancient things, and other people's money. That is moving in the direction of an unconscious competency. You can wake up in the middle of the night and be that thing, you see? And that's where we're all wanting to head. I'm not sure why I went down this rabbit hole, but I went down this rabbit hole to speak about this arc of hardness to softness. In the beginning, you are admittedly hard because you need to be hard because you're trying to cement certain skills within yourself. But as you grow around those skills, as you grow a sense of elegance and grace around those skills, you move from hardness to softness. And that should be how everything is. That's how we learn music. That's how we learn art. That's how we learn dance. That's how we learn to speak a language. That's how everything is. You see? Okay. That's the end of that. Sam, you have 3 charts for me, yes? You juggled them? Okay, great. So, I'm going to share my screen. Look, you see how it's slowly starting to get from awful to awfuler? And that down there is Ebony, and that up there is Shane, because I'm working on that thing. Anyway, moving on. Shane, did you see yourself before I mentioned it? Oh, okay. Okay, good. I don't want you to think that I'm like a weirdo stalker or anything. Okay, so this is masterclass number, I'm guessing it's like 6 or something. It might not be 6, but whatever. Sam, date of birth?
The 2nd of February, 1990.
My favorite day in the entire fucking world. Does anyone know why?
It's your mother's birthday.
It's most assuredly not. Well, I guess it is. If you're talking about my cosmic mother, it's the day of Imbolc or Candlemas. It's a pagan holiday, which means a lot to me because as you all know, as a child, I dedicated my life to some stuff. Anyway, time of birth?
7:27 a.m.
I love this person's mother already. And place of birth?
New London, Connecticut.
New London, Connecticut. Well, I definitely don't know who this is. Okay, okay. I'm going in under the impression that I don't know who this is because I actually don't. Please confirm with Sam. Well, no, actually, confirm privately with Sam. And is this a male or a female chart?
It's a female chart.
Okay, thank you. Confirm with Sam privately in the private chat that it's 21 degrees Aquarius, 48 minutes, yes? And Sam, you'll confirm with me. You'll let me know. What's it? Sam, have you not gotten confirmation?
Not yet.
People, message Sam and let him know.
We have a discrepancy.
Exactly, is my point. The discrepancy is what? Sam, tell me.
The degree of rising.
What is it supposed to be?
13.
It's supposed to be 13. Okay, so then what this person needs to do for us,
Well, maybe not.
is, what am I supposed to believe?
Okay. The chart's correct.
Oy vey.
Chart's all good.
Okay, famous last words. All right, here we go. Now, as you all very well know, the first thing that we do is we start with the ascendant. We take a quick look at the antition versus the contra-antition. The antition of 21 degrees. Aquarius is going to be 9 degrees of Scorpio. So we look at 9 Scorpio, see if anything is there. The answer is no. We look at 9 Taurus, see if anything is there. The answer is no. But we do have the moon there, because we give it a 1 degree orb. So we have the moon falling on the contra-antition of the ascendant, which is interesting. Which tells us something about the importance of women within this person's environment. And I could explain that later. So we have a situation where we have women being important within this person's environment already, and we probably want to see why. Maybe this is the mother specifically, but we're not sure exactly why as yet. The next thing that we want to do is look at the octile aspects, which would be the semi-squares and the sascu quadrates to the ascendant. And the semi-square or sascu quadrate to this ascendant would be, Lindsay Summers is here. The semi-square or the sascu quadrate of 21 fixed. 21 fixed equals 6 cardinal. 21 fixed is 6 cardinal. So we look and we see, is there anything at 21 at 6 cardinal? We have this Uranus at 7 and we give it a 1 degree orb, yes? So this Uranus is forming a half square to the ascendant. Anything else at 6 cardinal, 6 cardinal, 6 cardinal, 6 cardinal? The answer is no. Okay, we're moving on. So we have the moon relationship with the ascendant. We have the Uranus relationship with the ascendant. Now we just look for regular schmegular aspects of the ascendant. So 21 degrees, I hold on to that number and I rush around the chart. The moon is in a wide square, but we don't need to bring that in because we already have the moon contra-antition the ascendant. So we're fine with that. The part of fortune is going to be a yes for us. The Jupiter is going to be a no for us. The nodes are going to be a no for us. The Pluto is going to be a yes for us. So here we have a T-square between the moon, the Pluto, and the ascendant. Now, what I realized the other night when I was doing one of these mentorship things with people is that people have a difficulty understanding how we work with aspects. Now, 2 seconds ago, I just said that this moon is too wide to the ascendant by virtue of it being, it's literally 11 degrees away, almost 12 degrees away from the ascendant, yes? So I just said that 2 seconds ago, but now I'm saying, however, there's a T-square between the moon, the Pluto, and the ascendant. Isn't that contradictory? It's contradictory, yes? Yes, it is. So let me explain to you why that is still the truth. That is still the truth, because even though this moon is technically too wide to our ascendant for it to be valid in terms of us saying the moon is square the ascendant, the Pluto isn't. The Pluto, if we add the minutes of that Pluto as well, the Pluto is literally about, what would that be? That would be 3, 4. The Pluto is about 4 degrees away from the ascendant, yes? By virtue of the square relationship that the Pluto is having to the ascendant. Do you all see that the Pluto is about 4 degrees away from the ascendant? Yes, we see that, which is a decent aspect range. That's a decent orb, yes? Now, the Pluto and the moon are, the Pluto and the moon are 7 degrees away from each other, yes? However, it's the moon, and we usually give the moon a wider orb just because it's the moon. But the Pluto and the moon are about 7 degrees away from each other. But the reason why we are saying that this is even relevant at all is because the moon is 1, the moon. 2, the moon is closer to the Pluto than it is to the ascendant. And since the moon and the Pluto already have a relationship, then we view this as a moon-Pluto ascendant relationship. Does that make sense? And furthermore, as if we needed more confirmation, the sun is also caught up in that T-square. Do you see how the sun is 3 degrees away from the moon and 4 degrees away from the Pluto? So really, this moon and this Pluto are brought into an arrangement in any event based on the sun looping in the sun, the moon, the Pluto, and the whole thing is tied up with this person's ascendant, yes? Is that kind of clearish? I pray to God that it is. It is. So we have a big deal going on. Do you want to know what the other big deal is? The other big deal is that all of this is happening around the nodes. This sun, this moon is squaring the north node and the south node. This Pluto is also squaring closer than the moon the south node and the north node. Can we see that? So if we were to take everything out of this and just say have the Pluto, we just want the Pluto, we want the moon, we want the sun, we want the part of fortune, because the part, well, we want the north node, the south node, and we want the part of fortune, because the part of fortune is a part of it as well. Part of fortune, save, select. This is really a strong configuration. All of that is important. So now that we have all of that percolating in our minds, we can start by talking about the ascendant. I was reading a book last night by Charles Jane, who was this great astrologer back in the day. And Charles was essentially saying, he gave a rubric for how to read a chart, basically. And he did what most people did, which I was surprised to see him doing it. He said that you would start with the propensities and the deficiencies in a chart, which means how much of this element does this person have, you know, how much of this mode does this person have, how much of this gender does this person, you all know what I'm referring to, yes? Has anyone done that in their own astrological practice? Like this person has 5 planets in fire, therefore, blah, blah, they're like a fiery person. Have we not done that at least once? It's a thing. It's a thing that's taught. Yes, Kulan, you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, definitely with the elements, it seems like a really potent part of the analysis, yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing that's taught. It's a thing that I don't teach at all, because I personally feel, okay, I'll say this and then I'll go and read the chart and then I'll shut up. I mean, I'll shut up from what I'm saying because I'm going to read the chart. But when it comes to checking these very cleanly defined boxes, like if you have 5 planets in fire, that means that you're a fiery person. Let me read to you the description of a fiery person. I don't necessarily consider that to be astrological interpretation. You understand? It's like, I don't know, that just doesn't do it for me. If you have all of your planets in cardinal signs, that means you're an action-oriented person. That isn't actually astrology, in my humble opinion. If you have 10 planets above the horizon, no planets below the horizon. That means your life is lived out in the world. What do these things mean in the grander scheme of things? That's like, does anyone have an issue with what I'm saying? Because I know that I have very problematic opinions. Yes, Kulan?
For the elements, for me, it's always been most meaningful in the terms of medical astrology.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Anyone else?
I was just going to say that we split the charts, like if it's nocturnal or diurnal, but there doesn't seem to be much discussion between the differences of a diurnal or nocturnal natal chart.
We could talk about that. We could talk about that for sure. But also it's not used in this way of saying, if you're born at nighttime, you're more emotional. And I have seen people do that. If you're born with the sun below the horizon, you're a more emotional, internal person. But haven't you met people who are completely extroverted who are born in the nighttime? So my point is that we don't want to set up these artificial characterizations based on these very clean things that we could just run with and call ourselves astrologers. We actually want to interpret what the planet's doing with each other. Okay, I'm shutting up and I'm going to go back to the chart, and I will not say another word other than what I have to say about the chart. All right, so this person has Aquarius rising, and with Aquarius rising, we know that Aquarius is a fixed air sign ruled by Saturn based on our perception of rulerships. So the first thing is that the primary operating system for this person within their lives is air. They want to connect with people. They want to make connections in their environment. They want to connect with their thoughts. They want to spread. They want to spread in terms of their relationships with others, in terms of the thoughts that they have within their mind. Their thoughts become their primary interface with the world around them, and they use their thoughts as a vehicle, or rather they use their voice as a vehicle for the very specific thoughts that they want to share with others, because Aquarius being an air sign, air being hot and wet being sanguine, sanguine being the best of the temperaments, means that this is a sociable nature. All of the air signs, we consider them to be sociable. We consider all air signs to be sociable because air is hot and wet. By our ancient conception of the elements, air is hot and wet, which is sanguine. Sanguine is a temperament. You all know about sanguine, phlegmatic, choleric, and melancholic, yes? You may have heard about that in your university introduction to psychology class or whatever, but we have these different temperaments, which were the initial way of characterizing people before it became fire, water, air, earth. So before this characterization of people based on their elements, we have this traditional and this ancient way of characterizing people based on fire, based on sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic. Do we know this?
Yes, but do you want to explain really briefly what the difference between those four are?
No, I don't.
People in the back?
Kulan, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say more or less.
Yeah, okay. So what you should know, Kulan, because you brought up medical astrology, is this characterization of choleric, phlegmatic, sanguine, and melancholic has more to do with medical astrology than a person being fiery, earthy, airy, or watery. The original model is choleric, phlegmatic, sanguine, and melancholic, yes? And we need to get back to that, actually, as a medical astrological body, but that's another discussion for another day. So because air is considered to be hot and wet, for the ancients, it was the best element. And it was the best element because our blood is also hot and wet. And our blood allows us to live. Also, we consider Jupiter and Venus to be benefic planets. Because why? Does anyone other than you oraculites know? So Fevin and I, Fevin and Eileen and Kulan, are any of you knowing why Jupiter and Venus are considered to be benefic planets?
Well, not only are they have a lot of light, but they're also warm and moist, which is conducive to life.
Yes. Did you read that from Ptolemy?
I didn't, but I probably got it from people who did.
Okay, cool. Eileen, you were gonna say something?
I was thinking backwards on dignity, but Kuan's answer seemed to hit it on the head.
Yes, that is exactly it. So Ptolemy in his Tetrabiblos says that all of the planets receive their natures based on their relationship to the sun and the moon. Jupiter, based on where it is within the Chaldean order. The Chaldean order is what, Catherine Yeager McQuaid? Say it.
Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon.
Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. And every single one of you needs to know that as astrologers in general. It doesn't matter who you study with. This is basic astrology. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. It's called the Chaldean order. Why is it called the Chaldean order? Anyone?
Astrologers used to be called Chaldeans.
Astrologers used to be called Chaldeans. Why? Anyway, astrologers used to be called Chaldeans because all astrologers came from Babylon, and Babylon was anciently known as Chaldea. Our astrology comes from ancient Mesopotamia. Astrology, as we practice it today, comes from ancient Mesopotamia, and astrology coming from ancient Mesopotamia came from the Chaldeans, and that's why we call it the Chaldean order, because the ancient Babylonians are the ones who gave us our ordering of the 7 visible planets from Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Make sense? It makes a lot of sense. So Venus and Jupiter are considered to be benefic planets because they too are warm like us. They too are warm and moist like our bodies. Our bodies are warm and moist. Our earth is warm and moist. Our mother's womb is warm and moist. So all things that are conducive to the proliferation, Mychal, to the proliferation of life are warm and moist. Make sense? That's why we consider Jupiter and Venus to be benefics. Now, they're warm and moist, which makes them like blood, which makes them sanguine, which means any element that is equally warm and moist is also considered to be a benefic. So the air signs are the best signs of all the signs in the zodiac because the air signs, they have within themselves this natural beneficence based on them being warm and moist like Jupiter and Saturn. Oy vey, not Jupiter and Saturn, like Jupiter and Venus. Does that make sense? So the ancients thought that the air signs were the best thing since sliced bread because the air signs are sanguine, i.e. warm and moist, i.e. like us, which is another reason why all of the air signs are considered to be humane signs. Have you ever heard of this characterization of the signs as humane and bestial and feral and double-bodied and maimed and signs of a voice and signs of no voice and barren signs? And have you heard of these other characterizations of the signs of the zodiac? Because it's not just cardinal, fixed, mutable. I mean, it's a whole spiel. You have some signs that are considered barren, some signs that are considered fruitful, some signs that are considered semi-fruitful, signs with a voice, signs with no voice. But the humane signs are the signs ruled by Mercury. Hello. The signs ruled by Mercury and the air signs. Okay? And we know one of Mercury's signs is already there, which is which one?
Gemini.
Gemini, exactly. Gemini is already there as Mercury's sign. So we know that there's something humane about Mercury in general because Mercury within the person is the thing that allows for communication. And we only become humane insofar as we can communicate. Do you understand? Communication, this act of verbally communicating symbolic language, is specifically what allows us to be human. We don't grunt with each other. I mean, well, Anyway, the point of the matter is, for the most part, in our daily interactions, we don't grunt with each other, we don't moan and groan and all of these other things. We actually express ourselves with articulation through our voice, and through that voice, we express very complex concepts, yes? So it is the mercurial factor within each of us that makes us humane, which is why the 2 Mercury signs are considered humane. But it is also this overarching air nature, this overarching hot and moist nature of all of the air signs, this overarching sanguine nature of all of the air signs that makes all of the air signs humane. Because to be sanguine is to be just right for the proliferation of life. Tell me.
Is that mitigated for Aquarius, since it's like the heart of winter and Saturn sign?
Well, now you're going into other things, which is where we're going. But the overarching point that we're making is we want to identify why Aquarius should be sociable at all. Now, let's get back to the whole situation over here. So here we have this person who is having as their primary operating system. That's what we call that. The element that is ruling the sign on the ascendant is that person's primary operating system, which means we need richer language to talk about the elements, yes? So air, as this person's primary operating system within life, says that this person is someone who wants to communicate with their surroundings because they have very specific things that they want to share in terms of how they fit within the world. Because every air sign is wanting to figure out how they fit within the world by virtue of their thoughts and their words. And so this is primary to the heart of this person. Now, whether this person is able to always articulate that language is another thing entirely, because this person is having their Mercury in Capricorn in the very silent 12th house. So that's another bag of fish altogether. But for the most part, communication is what this person moves through. That's how they articulate themselves. Now, the next thing is we want to bring in the fact that it's a fixed sign. Aquarius is a fixed sign. So when we think about fixing of air, it's a really peculiar thing because air is volatile naturally, yes? So the Aquarian person is fundamentally trying to fix something that's volatile. They're trying to fix a thought. They're trying to fix a concept. They're trying to fix an idea. And because they're trying to fix these thoughts, concepts, and ideas, we may consider them to be very stubborn in terms of how they think. We may consider them to be very stubborn in terms of how they are communicating because they're very fixed about the very clear thought or concept that they have within their minds. You see? But I want to show you something because I like you people, which doesn't always happen. You should read. There's a thing about Saturn, King of Swords. Wait. I believe in showing people images because images allow things to settle more firmly within our minds. So while the King of Swords within the tarot isn't necessarily associated with Aquarius, specifically or solely, the King of Swords is, oy vey, I hate when it does that. Yes, JPEG. There we go. It is associated with this concept of air. Now, so the King of Swords essentially is the embodiment of our concept of fixed air. I have a very fixed framework from which I view the world. And I believe that this framework from which I view the world is somehow higher than the world around me. We say higher because the King of Swords is seated atop a hill. So there's a sense of separation between the King of Swords and the rest of the world around him. And similarly, there's a sense of separation between the Aquarian mind and the rest of the world around them. Do you understand? The Aquarian is the higher Saturn. Now, this is important for us to know because, let's see, Saturn planet, period. The Aquarius is the higher Saturn, which is important for us to know because Saturn is, in a sense, bifurcated or cut in half by its rings, is it not? Save. Saturn is, in a sense, bifurcated by its rings. We have the lower Saturn and we have the higher Saturn. And do you see that blue haze on the top of the head of Saturn? That lightning blue is the lightning blue that we associate with Aquarius. It has nothing to do with Uranus. So let's talk about Saturn as being double-bodied or as being these two versions of a planet. The lower Saturn is a Saturn that we all associate with the devil. The Devil Tarot. You thought you were coming to learn astrology and the boy is teaching you about fucking tarot cards. Can you imagine? So, here we go. The Saturn that we are all accustomed to referring to and talking about is this one. You see? Traditionally, not in the Rider-Waite deck, but traditionally within traditional tarot decks, on the palm of the devil is the sigil of Saturn, the actual Saturn glyph. On this one, what do you see on the palm of Saturn? Anyone can say, except for my people, my other people. You're all my people.
The cross.
The cross. Are you all seeing the cross? Are you all knowing that the cross is another one of the glyphs of Saturn? Just in life in general, period? Eileen, Kulan, Fevin? Talk to me, Eileen.
That's really funny because of the history of Christmas and how it comes from Saturnalia.
Yes, exactly. So let's talk about the cross for literally 2 seconds. The cross has always been associated with the material world. The cross has always been considered to be the cross of matter. You see? The cross, it's from the 4 spokes of the cross that we get our elements. But also the cross is made from this essentially passive feminine concept within nature and this activizing masculine concept within nature. And when the two things cross each other, they get stuck or they get petrified in a fixity. There's a fixity upon the feminine and the masculine when they cross each other to create that cross. And it's from that fourfold fixity that we get our symbol of earth, which is the cross within the circle. You see? It's this concept of Prometheus being the spiritual part of ourselves chained to this rock of matter. And that's what the cross is representing. But that's what Saturn represents. So Saturn is always indicated by the cross, which is why we say shit like, you know, this cross that I bear. Yes, it's deeply biblical, but there's also this other thing, even within the story of Jesus, is the story of Prometheus, which is the raw spiritual soul nailed to the cross of matter. The lamb that was slain by being sacrificed to matter, you see? So that's the cross in every equation. The cross is always Saturn. The cross is always Saturn. No matter where you see a cross in ancient iconography, the cross is Saturn. It represents the materialization of the physical world around us, period. So in the palm of the devil, on the tarot card of the devil, is the cross on the Rider-Waite deck, but on other more esoteric decks, it's the actual sigil of Saturn because the devil is representing Saturn in his crudest. There's a head of Saturn and there's an ass of Saturn. And unfortunately, most of us are only familiar with the ass of Saturn. because that's the part of Saturn that we don't like. The part of Saturn, which is this cruel overlord, this harsh keeper of society, this one who always is raining on everyone's parade and poo-pooing on your ideas. That is the ass of Saturn, because the ass of Saturn cannot allow for things that are more expansive or expressive than what those things are supposed to be. If you are a banker, you can't also be a musician, because that breaks the Saturnian paradigm that says you are only one thing. You see? So if we go back over to the devil card for literally 2 seconds in discussing the Saturn, the devil card exerts upon all of us a fixity that says that you are exactly what you are. You are nothing other than what you are, and that is it, period. Which at some level, we do need Saturn to say that, because that version of Saturn, it demarcates the limitations of our human possibilities. You understand? So we need that. Don't we need Saturn to tell us when we're on the top of a skyscraper that you are a human and not a bird? So there's value within that. It becomes valueless when it becomes a crushing imposition of materiality upon the human spirit, which is very much held up within the concept of Saturn as well, that within Saturn is this ability to crush that which is spiritual within a person. So Saturn is only valueful insofar as Saturn can continue to give parameters of safety to our human experience. You're not miselastic. You cannot stand in the front of a car and the car will bounce off of your body. You understand? You can't stand on the highway and then teleport. You know what I mean? Like, those realities of life are Saturnian. No, Icarus, you cannot fly so close to the sun. It's the Jupiter within us that makes us want to fly close to the sun in the first place. It's the Saturn within us that pulls us all the fuck back. Because if you fly close to the sun, your wax wings are going to melt off and you'll be swimming with the fishes, and alas, you cannot swim, so you will surely die. You see? So we need that Saturnian whatever that is. Make sense? Makes sense. Now, the part of Saturn that tells us don't dream is the part of Saturn that becomes the devil card. And that's the piece that we don't like. And that is the ass of Saturn. That is Saturn in Capricorn. That is the Saturn that is very much considering itself to be the salt of this earth. That is the Saturn that thinks that if I pay $2 for something, I'll get $2 worth back. And they're very pissed off if they don't get the $2 worth back, because that's how it's supposed to be. I am always supposed to get $2 value if I pay $2 for something. Or if I work 10 hours a week at something, then I should become good at it, you know? That's the Saturnian thing. The Saturnian thing at its lowest level is this cycle of cause and effect. Because I've done this, I should get that. So when they find out that someone else has beat them to the finish line because that other person is just more naturally gifted, they burn inside, because no one should be more naturally gifted than anyone else at doing anything. If I put in my 10 hours and you put in your 10 hours, we should both get out 10 hours worth of value. You shouldn't be able to beat me across the finish line because your Achilles tendons are longer and you just have your body is more naturally predisposed to running. You see? Saturn in Capricorn hates that. It hates it, it hates it, it hates it like sin. Because that's just not how the world is supposed to work. But as we all know, the world doesn't always work like how it's supposed to work, yes? Which is a part of the internal difficulty a lot of us have had this year, because this has been a Saturn and Capricorn year, where our value systems and the things that should be a particular way haven't necessarily been that particular way, and so a lot of people have struggled. The Saturn and Capricorn people have struggled intensively because this world has thrown us all for a curveball. And all of the Saturn and Capricorn stabilities that we've known about in the past haven't been accessible to us now. I say all of this because this person is a Saturn and Capricorn person under the guise of an Aquarius rising. Let's go back to the chart.
Wait, what was the head of Saturn?
Oh, okay. I spend so much time talking about the ass of Saturn. Oy vey, my battery. Hold on, I have to plug in my battery. Please hold. Am I boring you? Is this conversation boring at least a little bit?
I think you're slipping into your educating ways, but I'm okay with it.
Oh my God, it's awful. I need to stop that. You know, we're supposed to be reading this person's chart. But I mean, but it's important. I think that it's important because this is what goes on in my mind when I see a chart like this. And then I have to like chop off everything I've just said and only say 2 sentences about it. You see? I love your sweater, Eileen. It's a very lovely sweater. Anyway, moving on. The head of Saturn. The head of Saturn, so think about this. The tail of Saturn, the ass of Saturn, can only perceive what's below it. And below Saturn, we have what? Someone say the Chaldean order. Fevin, say the Chaldean order. Come, unmute.
All right. So was it Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, moons? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. That has to, now you are at a place of conscious competency. With that, you need to move into a place of unconscious competency where you can just say Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Yeah? That's your next week assignment. Now, if I am Saturn looking down, all I see is how things should be. I see Jupiter should be there, Mars should be there, Sun should be there, Venus should be there, Mercury should be there, Moon should be there. I see the shoulds. The ass of Saturn can only see the world as it should be, whereas the head of Saturn sees the universe as it can be. Do you know that there's a halo on the crown of Saturn? Did you ever know that? I'll show you it. Did even my Oraculos people know that Saturn has a halo? It's a lightning blue electric halo. Isn't that crazy? I'll show you it. Saturn Halo. Well, that is it there, but actually it's on the top. Here we go. This is what the top of Saturn looks like. Isn't that wild? It's fucking wild. What are you saying, Kulan?
Super wild. I love that.
Yeah.
Too,
so,
yeah. Or at least you would think modern style.
Yeah. So here we have Saturn, the halo of Saturn, the head of Saturn, which is able to see the rest of the cosmos, whereas the ass of Saturn can only see us. You understand? So for me, in my Mychal Bryanism of a worldview, I believe that this is one of the many reasons why Saturn is very much the ruler of Aquarius. But when we talk about Saturn being the ruler of Aquarius, we have to say which part of Saturn, the ass or the head? So in my opinion, it's the head of Saturn that's ruling Aquarius, the part of Saturn that isn't limited by only being able to see the order of things as they should be, but the part of Saturn that's able to see the rest of the cosmos as it truly is. Which is why we consider the Aquarian to be so radical, because the Aquarian is essentially not bounded by the ass of Saturn. Is your head bounded by your bati hole? The answer is no, it's not. Bati hole is a word we have in Jamaica, and it means your body hole. So in the same way as your crown of your head isn't limited or demarcated by the actions or the efforts of your body, it's the same way how Aquarius, being represented by this head of Saturn, isn't limited by the tail of Saturn. Now, this is why Aquarian people oftentimes struggle. They struggle with the world around them, because if you represent the head living in the world that the tail created, aren't you going to struggle? You're going to struggle against it because you know that your head can do things that your body jaw cannot. You understand? It's a completely different worldview. So yes, the Aquarian is going to move through the world thinking, but why can't this world be better? You know, it looks like it was created in a crude way. It looks like it was created by children. It looks like it was created in a caveman sort of paradigm that doesn't really add up to what it can be. So that is the Aquarian struggle in life. This world sucks because it was created by old systems of being and old systems of thinking, and I need to change it. Because me, Aquarian, can see how it should be. Whereas everybody else is only seeing what the right body says to the left body that the world should look like. You understand? So that is, do you now see my concept of the head of Saturn, Kulan, versus the tail of Saturn?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Moving on to the actual interpretation of this chart. So all of that is what would have gone through my mind in relation to this person. This person comes into the world with very fixed thoughts about how the world should be, fixed because Aquarius is a fixed sign. They have very fixed thoughts about how the world should be, and they want to share those fixed thoughts with others because it's an air sign. There's something naturally sharing within the heart of the air sign person who wants to share those thoughts and opinions with other people, because those thoughts and opinions would really move them and would really make them feel as if they are getting where they need to be in life, basically. Now, in terms of aspects to the ascendant, we have the square from the Pluto, and we also have the square from the moon, and we also have the moon at the contrantitia of the ascendant. And is that the only aspect? Yes. So we have the square from the Pluto, the square from the moon. And so what we know with that is that this person feels pressured by the education system. We say pressured by the education system because this Pluto square is coming from the 9th house, is it not? So we say this person feels pressured by the education system. They feel pressured by their superiors. They feel pressured by people who hold knowledge. And as a result of that pressure that they feel from those people who hold knowledge, they feel as if they've been hard done by the education system, or they feel as if they've been hard done by the people who are the gatekeepers of knowledge within the world. And as a result of that, they want to create Plutonian shifts and changes within those interactions with others, within their interaction with the world, because they feel as if it is their sovereign duty to transform how people think, how people interact with information, how people interact with knowledge, how people interact with truth, how people interact with higher education. That's all of these things are built in to this person and what they want to deliver to the world. Now, we know. So that's the Plutonian thing. Now, the Moon-Pluto situation, this is a female chart. Moon-Pluto is an interesting combination for a couple of reasons. A couple of reasons are because from a health perspective, if we were running this in a medical astrology sort of way, from a health perspective, we would be looking at Moon-Pluto as possibly being a signature for something like endometriosis, or something like heavy bleeding during menstruation, are some of the Moon-Pluto things that we would look for within a medical sort of context. In a non-medical sort of context, Moon-Pluto has to do with, well, actually, we probably should be looking at this in a medical way because this moon is ruling the 6th house, is it not? So here we have the ruler of the 6th house squaring the ascendant and in opposition to Pluto. And what I don't have on this chart, which I always have on my charts, which I would like to have right now because I'm just spoiled, is Chiron. I think we all should be using Chiron a little bit more. So here we have Chiron disposed of by the moon, and we have Chiron also retrograde reapplying to the sextile of that moon. So we have a Chiron signature in terms of this person's moon. We have a Neptune signature in terms of this person's moon. We have a Uranus signature in terms of this person's moon. We have a Pluto signature in terms of this person's moon. So the moon is squaring the ascendant, i.e. the ruler of my house of sickness is actively squaring my body. The moon is also on the contra antisha of the ascendant because, like I said earlier, 10 degrees Taurus is the contra antisha of this 21-degree ascendant. So the moon is also on the contra antisha of my ascendant, which is another signature that says that somehow struggles with my health are squaring my body and may directly be diminishing the nature of my personal health. Now, we say this, but at the same time, we know that this person has a robust body. And we say they have a robust body because the Saturn, which is ruling the ascendant, is in its own sign. We have Saturn and Capricorn. The 1st house is the house of health. The 6th house is the house of sickness. The 1st house is the house of health. The 6th house is the house of sickness. We have the Saturn ruling Capricorn, in Capricorn, also ruling the ascendant, but in the 12th house. Which says to us that this person, even if they do undergo many health issues within their lives, their body still has the stability to bounce back. Even though that moon is squaring the ascendant, which is another indication of some health challenges, and if we want to be really PG-13 about it, we can say challenges in terms of my stress load within the world, that my stress actively is countering my relationship to my body, or I exist in a high stress environment. I exist in a high stress sort of situation, and the deep level of my emotional as well as my physical stress to my body is causing my body to suffer. However, it's a good moon. It's the moon exalted, which means that the moon shaves off some of the quote-unquote evil that it would have if this were, say, a moon in Scorpio. So what we're saying about this person is this person has a robust relationship to their health. However, they do undergo health issues as a constant theme within their lives, but they always bounce back from it. And not health issues as in I have a cold once a year, but there is a health signature within this person's life that says that this person constantly is having this health as a priority for them, and massive transformations in relationship to their health, i.e. moon opposing the Pluto, massive transformations in relationship to my health that are constantly ongoing within my life. However, I bounce back from it because the moon is a good moon and the Saturn is also a good moon. The Saturn is also a good Saturn. So those are things that we have on the table thus far about the person themselves. Now, the next thing that we see in terms of aspects of the ascendant, well, we spoke about the moon squaring the ascendant, is issues with my health, issues with my stress, stresses within my environment, having an antagonistic relationship to me and my body. The other thing that we have is that the Uranus is tied in with the ascendant as well, because the Uranus is in a semi-square to the ascendant. Uranus semi-square the ascendant means that the environment that I come from is a Uranian environment. Now, we have to remember that for a Saturnian person, for their environment to be Uranian is downright stressful. Aquarius likes better, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Aquarius likes change. Aquarius likes to know that things are functioning at a higher level, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Aquarius likes Uranian circumstances. Aquarius is not a sign of anarchy. Aquarius is a sign of a new world order. Do we understand the difference between these two concepts? Anarchy is burn it down for the sake of burning it down. A new world order is tearing it down in order to build something else up. You see? The proper Uranian person doesn't care what gets built up in the place of that which was torn down. The proper Uranian person is just about tearing down, tearing down, tearing down. No attachments, no attachments, no attachments. Kill the king, kill the king, kill the king. That's kind of the Uranian thing in life for the proper Uranian. Aquarius is not proper Uranian because Aquarius wants to tear down the old world in order to build up the new world, you see? So, there's that. So this person having Uranus semi-square the ascendant is saying that something about their environment causes their environment to be Uranian, and Uranian synonyms range from being bizarre to being exciting to being unstable. So we want to know, is there a fundamental seed of instability going on within this person's foundational environment? Is there a fundamental seed of instability going on within this person's foundational home that causes them to want to break free from that environment, and that causes them to want to break free from that home, and that causes them to have no real loyalties to that environment or to that home? We move on. Speaking of home, because we're talking about home, we naturally get led to the 4th house. And the 4th house is being ruled by our Mercury. We go and we see what's happening to the Mercury. The Mercury is at 18 degrees Capricorn, 18 minutes. And it's in the 12th house, having no dignity there in the 12th house, but it's being received by the Saturn. So what this is saying to us is that home is most assuredly a very important place for this person. However, for whatever reason, the 12th house is a place of solitude. It's a place where we go to get away from the world, but it's also a place where we stuff our hurts. You stuff your painful experiences in your 12th house. If you kill a person, you stuff the dead body in your 12th house. You know, like that's where we stuff all of the things. It's in our 12th house. So we want to know, why is this person's household and home in the 12th house with them? What about their household and home feels like it bears the seed of pain? We see that this Mercury is in opposition to Chiron. So Chiron opposing the ruler of my home is saying that there is the Chironian wound within my life is a wound within my household and home. So we want to know, what about this person's household and home bears the seed of pain in my 12th house? Is there a story that's occurred within my household and home that needs to be hidden in my 12th house with me? A story that has a very deep impact on my personal life? We say it has a very deep impact on my personal life because this Mercury is applying to the exact partile conjunction of that Saturn, you see? So, my home is very important to me. The pain that occurred within that home is equally very important to me. The initial wounding that set up within my life is also very important to me. And I don't talk about it. I don't talk about it because the Mercury is with Saturn, and Mercury-Saturn isn't a very chatty combination. So even though this may be a part of my foundational operating in life, it still isn't something that I actually talk about. It's something that works from the background, but I'm not keen on expressing it. Now, so there's that situation there. The next thing that we go on to is we didn't speak about this person's relationship to money. We have the 2nd house ruling their relationship to money, and we have Mars ruling this person's 2nd house of financial affairs. So Mars is in this person's house of the fulfillment of their desires, and Mars is exalted. So we get the sense that this person is coming from good monetary stock, or we get the sense that this person is coming from well, let's step back from that for 1 second. We get the sense that because of this person's family's relationship to money, this person seeks out financial stability as a primary goal that they have within this life. And we call it a primary goal within this life because the rule of the 2nd house is in the 11th. So I seek out money with every fiber of my being as a primary means by which I establish myself within the world, possibly because my initial upbringing, monetary situation may not have been the strongest. We say it may not have been the strongest because with the second house, we take the three triplicity rulers of the second house as representing a person's wealth in the three stages of their lives. The first triplicity ruler represents the wealth in the beginning of your life. The second triplicity ruler represents the wealth in the middle of your life. The third triplicity ruler represents the wealth at the end of your life. This person is now in the middle of their lives. And so at this moment, this is probably the best time for them in terms of the acquisition of money. Initially, their money was represented by the sun in the sun in Aquarius, which isn't really a good place for their sun. So it makes us doubt the level of stability that they would have had in terms of their initial relationship with money from their initial family and home. And as we move forward, we find that because of whatever sense of lack that they may have had in that regard, they now strive to find wealth for themselves. And not just money like I want to be comfortable, but they actively strive to find wealth. We know this because the Mars is also in opposition to the Jupiter. And Mars-Jupiter represents someone who's very successful at whatever their work is, someone who's very successful at whatever their career is. It's a seed of success, you see? So this person is going to have a successful job, a successful career, a successful time in the world in terms of seeking out and finding money for themselves. That's not going to be an issue for them at all. And the third part of life would be represented by, we have the sun, we have the Jupiter, and the second we have the Saturn. So this person, even if they may have come from financial difficulties, their second part and third part of life are going to be strong in terms of their ability to have money and in terms of their ability to acquire wealth for themselves. There's a lot of money signatures within this chart. Now we move on from there and we talk about the fifth house would have to do with children. We see the Mercury applying to the Saturn. And we see the Mercury in opposition to Chiron. So we ask ourselves, why and how are children very important to the life of this person? One. And also, why and how does the relationship to children represent a point of wounding within the life of this person? And why and how are those children in the 12th house? So, a thing that could possibly be asked about this, it makes me think about sexuality, and it makes me think about sexuality, and it makes me think about the abuse of power in terms of sexuality. And so the question that's going on in my mind at this moment is, was there an abuse of power in terms of sexuality, in terms of pleasure within the life of this person? And as a result of that, they push that pleasure in the basement of their 12th house because they don't want to. Okay, the Venus is also contra-parallel to Chiron. So we have a further testimony that love hurts. Love hurts within the life of this person, but why does love hurt? Okay, more things. The sun, which is ruling this 7th house, is over here in the 12th house. Whenever someone has the ruler of their 7th house in their 12th house, it demands that we pause for all of 2 seconds. And the sun, which would rule their partner, is also parallel is also parallel to Chiron. So, okay, the conclusion of this story is love hurts. Love carries a constant wound. My partner or partners, as they've manifested within my life, have manifested in my life as an exacerbation of a wound that I may have already have had from a very young age. And the age in question may be 7 years old when this moon would have perfected the opposition to that Pluto by solar arc. So was there a forced initiation of, might there have been an excessive use of force in terms of people within my life, partners who within my life, people who come in the role of love within my life, that sullies and that hurts my relationship to love in such a manner, whereas my connecting to love becomes a central point of difficulty, to the point where I might even say, alas, I can't stand this love thing. I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't need love in that sort of way. Is that a part of the story as well? Is a question that we would have for this person. Now, but we want to know, is that because someone used force or there was hurt regarding their relationship to love and other people's relationship to them? The family becomes an even more important situation here within the life of this person, because now this Mars opposite the Jupiter has another story, because that Jupiter is also ruling mom insofar as that Jupiter is ruling the 10th house. So is there a constant sense of embattlement in terms of me and my relationship to mom is a question. We see that from the moon squaring the ascendant. We see that from the moon contrantition the ascendant, but we also now see that from the Jupiter-Mars relationship, that there's a sense of a push and pull that isn't always the most supportive in terms of my relationship with mom, that may represent a fundamental breakage in terms of my relationship with mom. We say fundamental breakage in terms of my relationship with mom because this person is also having the Jupiter contra-parallel to the Uranus. So success at work but bad breaks with mom is kind of the thing here that we see coming up as a result of that. Dad, on the other hand, was probably far closer. And we say that dad was probably far closer because dad would be represented by this Mercury applying to that Saturn. Which is interesting because usually when maybe this is a stereotype, but one would assume that as a daughter, I'd be closer to my mom or something, but there's all of that going on. The final thing that we want to say is that it's a really interesting chart. It's a really, really interesting chart. The final thing we want to talk about is the fact that very highly career driven, because the Saturn is parallel to midheaven, very, very highly career driven. It's going to be something that they want to do. It's going to be something that they make happen for themselves within the world. The Neptune with the Saturn for me is a little bit of a doozy. You see how this is Neptune, Saturn parallel? It's a bit of a doozy. Neptune, Saturn can make a person very, what's that word? Very creative, very dreamy, very artistic, all of those things. And if we were to do the whole thing of this person has a lot of earth in their chart, we see that there is a fundamental seed of stability planted within the life of this person that allows them to land on their feet at the end of the day, regardless of what happens. But that Neptune is that Neptune parallel the Saturn. Neptune and Saturn don't really like each other at all. That Neptune parallel the Saturn does two things. One, it allows the person to be more creative in terms of the work that they're doing and in terms of the work that they're bringing forth into the world, which is a lovely thing. We want for our Saturn to be more creative. We want for our Saturn to bring out more beautiful, amazing work in the world. We love that shit. There's that. But the second thing that it does, the Neptune Saturn, is it puts a seed of doubt in terms of the stability of this land beneath my feet. It puts a seed of doubt in terms of the stability of this home beneath my feet. And that can become a point of stress, that can become a point of sorrow, that can become a point of disillusionment, that can become a point of sadness. And then the person ends up overcompensating for that by really working their ass off because they know what it is to be without, and they know what it is to kind of have their home ripped from underneath them. Just ripped from underneath them, basically. Okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to take a look at one more thing. It's going to take 5 seconds. So before you speak, whoever's chart this is, this chart was a big deal. Not every chart is a big deal, admittedly, but this one kind of was. Midpoint listing. I just want to quickly see something here. Sun, Moon, 41, 43, 41, 43, Moon, Sun. Okay. And let's see, 22, 30, 22 and a half. That would take us to 19, 13. So whoever's chart this is, get prepared to speak. 19, 13, Saturn. Chiron on the Venus, Pluto midpoint. Chiron on the Venus, Mars midpoint. Everything we said about this person's love life is true. And there's another story there. But for the most part, we don't doubt that piece. They also have Venus MC on the Sun, Jupiter midpoint. So does my love take me to connect with a wealthy guy, basically, who still ends up being a Chironian person who fits within my larger love story of things that hurt? Saturn on the Sun, Moon midpoint is painting this person to be the bearer of, is painting the person to pretty much be the responsible person, the person after the shit hits the fan in this family. Who is it who has to clean it up? Is this person. So we want to know, did the shit hit the fan at 7 years old? And was I forced into a place of having to grow up at 7 years old because of circumstances within my environment? Whose chart is this?
This was my best friend's chart.
Who is speaking?
This is Eileen.
Okay, Eileen. Eileen, go for it. On a scale of 1 to, well, not 1 to anything, how do you feel this came?
I thought it was pretty good. I don't know what the scale is, but I had one question. The money issue. So one thing that I thought was really interesting is I have doubted her choice of partners, like one after another. And the so I would say, like, instead of an aversion to love, just like making a lot of poor choices. I had one question about the Mars ruling the second house.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of instability in the family, and she does wrestle with like finishing her, like getting her bachelor's. Like, it's been a very, very, very long time coming. And so that seems to be in connection with the like finances portion. This is post Saturn's return. So I'm wondering, like, how do you break up the second house life periods.
Okay, so I'm gonna answer that, but give us a play-by-play. Well, actually, let me answer it now, but then afterwards, give us a play-by-play of things that felt accurate and things that didn't feel accurate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of breaking up the 3 periods of life, assuming that you don't die, your 3 periods of life are, okay, bye KPF, thank you for being here. So assuming that you don't die, the 3 periods of your life are dependency, self-sufficiency, retirement. Okay, that's the idiot's guide to it. I became independent when I was like 15 years old, you know, so the scheme of that doesn't always match up for everyone. But when we talk about 3 periods of life, you're thinking about when did the person live with their family and were dependent on the wealth of their family? When did the person leave their family and begin to build a life of their own, a working life of their own? And then when do they retire from that working life? That would be the 3 periods of life. So yes, the wealth for this person is unstable, but it gets better.
Okay.
Even if it doesn't look better at the moment, it will get better, because there's nothing like coming from financial instability to spur someone on to actually want to be rich. You know, it's like the two things go part and parcel. But what I want to know from you, Eileen, is, so talk to us about some of the facts, some of the cold, hard facts that either I would have said or that you know that corroborate what I say, and then talk to us about some of the things that weren't accurate.
Okay. So I knew this person from the age of 12, so I don't know about the age of 4 or the age of 7. But I do know that she moved from Connecticut around the age of 12, and then her parents had a divorce sometime when she was in high school. And that was like a really big event for her in her life that created a lot of instability, internal, and like she relocated, and that affected her ability to concentrate on her schoolwork when she was getting her bachelor's. So it was a point of distress. Yes, artistic, creative, does photography, is always asking when am I going to like make it, or like when are things in my life finally going to settle. And what was something else that you said? Clearly I don't know much more about her home life because all of that's in the 12th house.
Please bear in mind that there's a relationship between photography and Neptune. Okay, so remember I said that this person has the Neptune Saturn. Now, we have to ask ourselves, does everyone who have Neptune Saturn, is it important for everyone? The answer is no, because it's just no. But why was this Neptune important for her? Why was this Saturn important for her? Can someone tell me?
Do you mean Saturn overall in her natal chart? Or?
Yep.
Well, I mean, ruler of her ascendant, ruler
Exactly.
of her sun, it's all over the place.
Exactly for that reason. So what I'm saying is Saturn isn't going to be as important for everyone as it is for her, you see? So you can't just go out into the world thinking, oh, Neptune parallel Saturn, that means this, because it doesn't mean that for everyone, you see? And so we have to know how to grade our relationship to information. As astrologers, our singular task is to organize information in a cohesive sort of way. So we spoke about the family dynamic, and the other, well, before I go on, Eileen, talk to us about the relationship with the mother versus the relationship with the father that she may have had or didn't have.
Definitely much closer to her father. Her mother was a source of tension in her family life, in her family home. and then I believe they were estranged for a while, or perhaps I know that there was this like short period where she went to stay with a friend because she couldn't stand her mother. But so far, like the distance, so her mother actually got really sick, and that might be another Pluto moon significator. And then that has helped her. Her mother started going to therapy, and then like recognized her own diagnoses, and that's helped to build their relationship. So it's much healthier than it used to be.
So let me just say a tiny point on that. This is so cool. You know, let me tell you why this is all so cool. One, because this is the first time you and I are meeting.
And I also do want to recognize there is a totally different spirit to what you were saying in the beginning, to like talking as a consultation and talking versus a blind reading.
Yeah.
Or reading.
Yeah. Oh, so what I wanted to say to you all about this concept of the relationship with the mother becoming better. The state of a planet as it is in your chart will be what you experience about that planet in the beginning of your life. The dispositor of that planet will be what you experience from that planet in the end of your life. So she had a shit relationship with mom in the beginning, and pardon my French, but look at the moon. The moon is, so mom is, well, mom is the Jupiter in Cancer retrograde in opposition to the Mars and in opposition to the Uranus. That is mom. Mom should be better than she is because she's in her exaltation, but she's retrograde and she's opposite the Mars and opposite the Uranus. So mom has some stuff going on that we don't really like. However, mom is disposed of by this beautiful moon in whatchamacallit, in Taurus, which is still a point of stress because it's still squaring the ascendant, but at least the moon can never be retrograde, and it's relatively better than the condition of this Jupiter over here. We could say, well, oh yeah, well, the mom is still opposing Pluto. Pluto is very much a planet of healing. It's a planet of a lot of things, but it's also a planet of healing, you see? And ultimately, the Plutonian things we go through in our lives become sources of healing. So yes, my relationship with mom may have been the thing that drove, I was going to say drove, as in dragged in the past tense. Is that even a word? Anyway, so yes, my relationship with mom may have been the thing that drugged me to hell, drugged, whatever the word is, that drove is the word, that drove me to hell in my youth, but ultimately it becomes a point of healing later on. Okay, so that's it for me. You said mom got sick later in life. Let's see, mom's house of sickness would be, hold on. If this is mom's 7th, this is mom's house of sickness would be the 6th. Anyway, my brain isn't working right now, but I wanted to see if we saw any indication of mom eventually becoming sick, but that would take too much effort. Okay, cool. Continue.
What else do I remember?
You spoke about the relationships. We spoke about mom. We spoke about the fact that mom was close. She was closer with mom than she was with dad. We spoke about the money situation being a situation. We spoke about, we spoke about the 12th house. She keeps her family stuff hidden in the 12th house, but dad is also there as well. I think we did it.
So I don't know about kids right now. That hasn't come up yet in life.
Has she ever spoken about them?
Well, she doesn't have any kids right now. I think she might have gotten an abortion one time.
Yes. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Could any of you hear or feel me dancing around abortion as a topic? why are the rest of you looking so uncertain? I probably should have said it. That, you know, I hate people who say, yes, I said that after the fact, but I actually did drop several hints for that. I said, why would your children be in the 12th house in opposition to Chiron? Why are children a point of hardship for you? Why are children something that you don't want to talk about? Why are children a point of pain within your life? And then I spoke about relationships of force. I was dancing around it because I didn't know if it was one of your charts, you see? But the point that I was getting at was, has this person been sexually abused before? And as a result of the sexual abuse that she's encountered, she has had an abortion. Because when you see your children in your 12th house, you want to ask, when you see your children in the 12th house in an overall chart that doesn't really support a very nice interaction with love, you ultimately want to ask questions like that. Why? I told you, I also dropped the other hint. Your 12th house is where you bury dead bodies, as well as dead bodies. So the point of the matter is, the kids are in the house where you bury dead bodies, as well as the Venus in opposition to the Chiron. And so, Eileen, you think she got an abortion before?
Yeah, now that I say it happened around high school.
It happened around high school. Do you have any more information regarding that? Was it a forced situation, or did she just get...
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay, cool. What didn't ring true for you?
The part about, I guess this is just like the way that she chooses to engage with romantic relationships instead of being averse to them as a couple. Has a lot and falls. She has like many partners and they're all very intense relationships.
Are they old? Are they all older men? Like, do they fit like a daddy situation?
There've been a couple of older men. Most of them are like within 5 years of her though.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's see how or why we may have modified that. So I would have said that she is love averse because of the state of the Venus, because of the very wide Venus Chiron, but because of the very close Venus Chiron contraparallel over here. The Venus is at 14, the Chiron is at 15. So these are reasons why I would have said she's love averse. However, the Mercury ruling the house of her pleasure is applying to the Saturn. So the Saturn is parallel to Neptune. So if I were a smarter, a more intelligent, a more gifted, or a better astrologer, then what I would have said is that the Neptune Saturn, because we know that we're talking about Saturn as if it's her, yes? Yes, because Saturn is ruling the first house.
Yep.
Anybody there? Yeah, we know that we're talking about that. Also, stupid me. Once again, if I was a better, more intelligent, and a more gifted astrologer, I would have seen this, I would have commented on it. But unfortunately, I'm only me. The Saturn is also ruling the 12th house, is it not?
Yes.
So, in horary astrology, which is why we learn horary first, if the ruler of the 12th house is the ruler of the first house, then that means that I am doing the dumb shit to myself that causes me to be in the doghouse. Because the 12th house is the house of our hidden enemies, but also our self-undoing, yes? So we have Neptune caught up in this story of Saturn, ruler of the 12th house. And the Neptune could be a story of drugs. The Neptune could be, but the Neptune is more often a story of being a hopeless romantic. So in the future, I will be better at these things than I am right now. Also, the Mercury applying to the Saturn, Mercury ruling the house of pleasure, would also have indicated that. But I got carried away with just talking about Saturn to the point where I made her so much of a Saturn person that I excluded the other very real and potent things that was happening to that Saturn. Most potent of all being the fact that this Saturn is at 2147 by declination, and Neptune is at 2156 by declination. She has Saturn Neptune. She is the hopelessly romantic Saturn person who always ends up feeling as if they get the shitty end of the stick. Because she's also the rule of the 12th house. What do you say, Kulan?
Sorry, yeah. With Venus and Saturn applying to each other too, right?
With Venus and Saturn applying to each other. What we have to remember about Venus-Saturn feels a lot like Venus-Chiron. And Venus-Saturn represents the things that steal happiness. If Venus is honey, because we know Venus is honey, Venus is sweet things, Saturn is the thing that spoils your food. When your food gets spoiled, that's a Saturnian process. So Venus, Saturn are the things that steal the sweetness from the places in life that should be sweet. Love should be a place of unbridled sweetness, yes? But yet she's having the Venus, Saturn. So there were several reasons why I said she was love averse, but I got too granular and I missed out some very big things. And the big things were that she is ruling her own 12th house. She is her own worst enemy. She also is having the rule of pleasure applied to her within 1 degree. She seeks pleasure because probably seeking pleasure averts some of the other intensities of her life. You know, pleasure seeking causes me to not have to think about my past, or pleasure seeking causes me to not have to relive that moment in high school that I don't want to talk about ever again. Pleasure seeking causes me to just stay on the surface. You know, there's that. And she also has the Neptune with that Saturn, which is I want to melt into other people. However, I'm always disappointed by the people I melt into because Neptune, Saturn, Saturn, Neptune is a signature of disappointment. That is the signature of disappointment, Saturn, Neptune. Was she ever sick?
I don't remember about possibilities of endometriosis or any of that sort. I know that she's always had a very regular menstrual cycle.
Find out from her if it's heavy. Find out from her if she has heavy menstruation. So yes, it could be regular. But you know, women think that their menstruation is regular because it happens in a timely fashion. But if you have a scanty menstruation, it's unhealthy. If you have heavy bleeding during menstruation, it's equally unhealthy. So you want to find out. But don't say because you're unhealthy. Just say, oh, you know, do you have a heavy flow? Do you find that your flow is heavier than normal? Huh?
I do know that she tends to like really be affected by PMS.
Yeah, see, Lindsay just said the same thing. Could it be really bad? Cram source is always about the flow. Moon Pluto is about flow. Moon Pluto is about blood flow. And Moon Pluto is also about the suffering of my womanhood, you know, especially by opposition. So yes, very bad PMS is a part of, you know, I suffer because of this womanhood that I have. Anyway, lovely, lovely. Was this nice?
Very educational.
I will see you hopefully next Friday. And did you all like that tarot situation?
Yeah, learning about Saturn was awesome.
I'm just saying that was my favorite part because I love tarot, and as soon as actually, yeah, just know it was divine. The synchronicity was amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna offer it free of charge, is I'm going to do like a 3 Friday tarot thing. Like a 3 Friday tarot masterclass where we go through the 22 cards of the major arcana, and I show you how I work astrologically with the tarot. And it's pretty much the fool's journey. So you'll come and you'll sit down and you'll listen to me give a lecture, basically. but it's really lovely. And I think that for every astrologer should have a working understanding of the astrological basis of the tarot, not just tarot as in these cards made me feel a particular way, but what is the Kabbalistic astrological internal heart of the tarot. That's what astrologers need, and I'm trying to like hold the torch for that. Anyway, my darlings, you all are amazing. If you weren't recording, you could shoot me a message, let me know, and then I will get you the recording, and that's about it. Okay?
When are you thinking of doing the tarot class? You're not sure yet, or?
Probably next week. I don't know, but I will let you know.